So are you able to see my screen, Teju?
Yes, Sampath.
So like as I mentioned yesterday, like can you please type like pip space list in your screen on the command prompt. So like we'll see how many packages got installed successfully. Like same as I'm typing in my screen, pip space list. So it will pop up the list of the libraries which are installed in your station.
Yeah, now I got so many packages.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. So like we are good to start. Like from the page where you like whatever you say, like this one, you have created Python folder, right? So in that one, go to that particular folder, and you can do in two ways. Like I'll show you. From this folder, like if it is your what I say, like from here you can type CMD, or you can directly go to that particular path from the command prompt. So anyways is okay, right? So better tap on this one folder on the path section. Okay, type CMD. So you'll open a command prompt there, command prompt window in that particular path. Here you can open your Jupyter notebook. So once you enter, you will get a page, a Jupyter notebook, home page, like this. Okay. So we have created core Python and advanced Python folders, right? Go inside the core Python and create one Python file, create one Python file in the name of like, if you once you tap on this one, it will open a new file, Jupyter notebook. It will be there untitled here. I given a title core
Just a
Python.
minute, Sampath. In command prompt, I should type Jupyter Notebook, right?
Ah, yes, you need to type Jupyter notebook. So from command prompt, you need to give this text, Jupyter space notebook.
Notebook, okay.
So it will open the home page like this one. So in that you created two folders like core Python and advanced Python folders. So in that one core Python, just open a new Python file by tapping on this one Python 3. It will open a new Jupyter notebook. After opening that one in the untitled column, you can write your own name, like whatever the core Python practice, or whatever the name you want to.
No, it's not opening, Sampath. When I'm giving Jupyter Notebook, right? To access the notebook, open
It will take time. So
the
it will take time. Like it will take time. So
okay.
like, is it in process? It is showing some message.
Yeah, I just got the web URLs. To access the notebook, open this file in a browser or
Okay, you can open like that. Like with that URL, you
oh,
can open the Jupyter notebook. Like you can copy and paste that one Jupyter note, that web address, and paste in the Chrome.
okay. Is there any key to copy and paste this link?
Actually, if you tap on that one, double tap, it will directly copy that link
No, no, it's not
with your
copying. I
mouse.
tried that.
Okay. So you got this link, right? This one.
Yeah, correct.
So actually it should open pop-up directly in the
That is the one.
web browser.
It's there, right? To access the notebook, open this file in a browser. Just I got the same one. But when
Okay.
I'm double tapping it, it's not opening.
If I no, if you double tap, it will copy that entire URL. If you double tap, it will copy the entire URL. So if you right tap on the with the mouse, like the right button on the mouse, it will copy that one. Or else you can copy with Control C also. After double tapping on this one, Control C, or like right tap on the highlighted link, like whichever the highlighting that text, right? You can right click on your mouse. It will copy, so you can directly paste that one in your Chrome window.
Let me try.
See
Yeah,
like
now
this.
now
I'm
it's
showing you, right?
open. Now it's open.
Opened it. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I gave that command again. Now it's open.
Okay, okay.
So here I should create core Python and advanced Python, right?
Yes, yes. Folders.
Yeah.
In that folders, again, like once you created the folders, go to core Python folder. Okay. Like whenever you create the new folder, right? It will be you need to rename that folder. It's a core
Okay.
Python or advanced Python. Clicking checkbox and rename it.
Okay. I'm just creating the advanced Python folder as well. Please give me a minute.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's done. I have created both the folders.
Okay, great. And then go to the core Python folder
Okay.
and open a new one, new Jupyter notebook. It will be Python 3. So it will open the new Jupyter notebook. Okay, it will create a new Jupyter notebook. In this way, like you'll get a window.
New text file you are saying?
No, no, not text, not text. You need to go with Python 3. Notebook Python 3. The others are different. For notebook, we need to go tab, click on Python 3.
Okay. New and
As I'm
Python 3, right? In core Python folder.
Yeah, in core Python folder, there is a new tab is there on the right side. You can see on my screen. Okay, you tap on that one, you'll get a Python 3. For notebook, we need to tap on Python 3.
Yeah, yeah. Now it's open.
Yeah. So once you open, you have in the top, you have the option untitled. If
Yeah,
you
untitled.
click on that one, you can rename that file name also.
Okay. Yeah, done.
You're done, right? So like you can type this text print, open parenthesis, in double quotes, you are giving a hello hold syntax and press shift enter.
Yeah, I got hello world as output.
Okay, great. So from here, we'll start the Python sessions. Like we are starting Python like exercises. Okay. So
Okay.
just follow my instructions. I'll show in my screen like what the code we are trying, and I'll explain about that one and the importance of that one. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So like as I mentioned, like Python is a dynamic coding, and it runs on the interpreter. Okay, like C++ will run on the compiler. We are doing in an interpreter. So our interpreter will execute a line by line. Okay, so if I write a number of 1,000 line of code, still it will execute line by line, my Python interpreter. But it has a smart functionality, like according to the user instructions, it will follow which line to execute first.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll learn how to write that kind of code, step-by-step process. So initially we'll go with the basics, okay, of Python. First we'll understand the syntax, okay, indentation space, then we'll enter into the data types, okay. So first we'll understand Python syntax, how we need to write. So Python, like when like print is an inbuilt function. Either you can like print some a or some string you can give, or some variable you can also mention. So before prior to that one, like a equal to 10, you given a value assigned to a variable. So whatever the value you are assigning, that will be in the right side. Whatever the variable you are assigning that particular value, it will be the left side on the operators. Like this is my equal to operator. Okay, from right side value will be stored to the left side value. Okay, so when I say shift enter, I'll get a equal to 10. Like I can give you again a equal to 10. So I stored the value 10 in a. So I created an object for 10 value with the name of a. I can go and cross check that one with what is the type of a. It's an integer type, and what is the id of a. So I can also do the same thing, because print is inbuilt function, no need to give print every time. I can directly give type of a and type of id of a. So this is my, like if I give, it says the class integer. If I give print id of a, I'll get the memory address, like where it is storing that value particular, where my object is created, what is the reference address of that one, where my values got stored, in which object. Like either a is my object, and inside that one we have the 10 value, right? Again, b equal to 10. I'm asking again, what is the type of b, comma, id of b. So you can see here, I'm getting the same address, memory address, because these both are immutable objects. So we have immutable objects and mutable objects. I'll explain about this one in more detail. Okay. So just understand, like we are taking the same memory address and we are taking the same value. We are saving the memory. So in like layman language, like same value is stored in a particular address with the same address name, like 7904, and we assign the values to the two variables. This whenever I say the print
Your voice is breaking, sir.
b, is it clear now?
Yeah.
Okay. So whenever I say that print b, I'm getting the value of 10. Say that like print b and type of b and id of b. So I'm getting value 10. It's an integer type, and the memory address is this one. You can see the same thing for a also. A, A, A. So I'm getting the same memory address. Okay. For example, if I create for like A is 10 and B is 20. So this time it will not use the same memory address. It will create a new object for this one. You can see the memory address got changed for B. For A, it will be the same 7904. So is it clear, Teju? You have any questions on this one?
No, Sampath, it's clear.
It's clear, right? So like I mean to say, like when I say A equal to 10 in my Python memory, it will create a object A with the value of 10, okay, and memory address of 7904. Okay, B equal to 20, it will create, like it will cross check in the interpreter will go and cross check whether any values assigned already stored with the 20 or not. So it's not 20, then it will go and create the new object for this one. B equal to 20 with a new address value like 8224. If I say C equal to 10, my interpreter will go and search again. It's not 10, this is 10. So I can reuse this one and assign this value to C. So if I say, like for example, C equal to 10, you can see now, print ID of C, will first print the value. So whenever I'm printing for any string, after string, if I want to print that particular object, I need to separate with the comma. Again, after that particular object, if I'm adding something like a type of something C, I need to separate with comma again, or else I can print in a different line. So if I'm printing everything in one line, then I need to separate with the commas. Okay. If I want to add what is the type of this one, if I want to add certain string, again I need to write in double quotes. When whatever the string you want to give with the print statement, we need to write in a double quotes. If you want to print direct object, I can directly give the object value here. Okay. So again, I need to separate this string with comma, right? You can see that value 10, type of C is class integer, memory address. We are using the same memory address which got created for the A. Okay, it is not creating a new object, so it is saving the memory. It's clear, Teju?
Yes, Sampath.
Yeah. So this is a basic, like whenever we create any object, we can cross check the value. What is the value with the object name? This is my object name, right? C, and we can cross check the type of that particular object. It's an integer, or it's a float, it's a like a boolean or a string. or it's a list or tuple. So what is that object? We can cross check the type, and we can also cross check the where it got stored. Like what is the memory reference address? Okay.
So even if the variable is changed and if the value is same, it will store in the same memory address, correct? Means for A and
Sorry, like, can you please repeat the question? Like your voice was.
yeah. Since the value of A and C is same 10, it's storing in the same memory address, right?
Hmm. Yes.
Okay.
It will object will
So
create
if the
only
value is
once. See, like, Teju, like, I'll say one more time. Uh, Here you can see, we'll take one more example. D equal to 100. Okay. And E equal to, I'm giving 100. And F equal to, I'm giving 200. Now for this one, when I created my first object, D, okay. And so when I created this first object, it created in particular D object got created. And some XYZ address was created for this one. In a particular XYZ address, my object got created for the D, and 100 got stored here. Again, with the same value, I'm assigning to another variable, I'm creating another object. That time my interpreter will go and cross check whether it already any existing 100 values already created with some reference address. So if it is created, it will assign the same reference address to the E also. Okay. For the new value 200, it will cross check interpreter, but there is no existing value already created for that one. A value object is not present. Then my interpreter will create a new object for this one.
okay.
If the 200 with the, in the like ABCD location, like address. So this will be assigned to F, like it is a like reference address for this one. So like when I say print D comma type of D comma like ID of D, I can see that memory address. I can cross check the same with E. My interpreter is using the same reference address for the both the variables D and E. It's clear, Teju?
Yeah, Sampath, it's clear now.
If you want, I can explain one more time.
No, no. I also told the same thing. Like if the value is same, it's assigning to
Okay.
the same memory address, right? And if the value
Yes.
is changed, it will take another memory address. Yeah, clear.
Yes. Exactly. It will create a new object. We will
Okay.
not say that it will take the same memory address. It will create the new object for that one and assign a new memory address for it.
Okay. Okay.
So we have some data types in Python. You can see on my screen integer, float, complex, bool, string, list, tuple, and set dictionary. And this one, my integer is a immutable object. Float is immutable object. Complex is immutable object. Bool is immutable object. This string is immutable object, but it has its own specific, like we can do iterations. It support the iterations, as well as we can do like string manipulations here. So we'll discuss on this more. Okay, and list is mutable object. Tuple is like a immutable object. I'll say like immutable, and this one immutable. This one immutable. I'll explain what is immutable and mutable. Okay, I'll give you a rough example for that one.
Your voice
Immutable.
is breaking, Sampath. It's not clear.
Yeah, like, is it clear now?
Yeah, now it's clear.
Okay, my list is mutable object, tuple is immutable object, and set is, and again mutable, and this one is also mutable object. So I'll explain about this one. What are the like fundamental and collection data types? We can divide this data types into two groups. I'll explain about that groups first. Then I'll show you one example of that one. Okay, why we call it as immutable object, why we call it as a mutable object. Okay, I'll give you a like clear explanation about this data types today. So I can divide my 9 data types into two categories. Like one is fundamental data types, integer, float, complex, bool, and string. I can also call these 5 data types as immutable data types. Okay. And coming to the mutable and immutable concepts. Okay. I'll explain about that one with a rough example. So we'll take one example. So immutable objects, we cannot modify it. Okay, immutable objects I cannot modify, I cannot do iterations on this one. Like for example, a is my integer. Okay, I have around 1000. Okay, like this is my immutable object. So I cannot run for I in a print I. It says integer object is not a iterable object. Okay, and if I say a equal to Sampath, and for I in a print a, so this is also immutable object, but it supports the iteration. This one integer object doesn't support the iteration object. And apart from this one, like this is immutable object, it can fetch fast, we can do calculations also a little bit fast. And I'll show one more example, like a equal to, this is pakka like mutable object. Okay. For I in B colon print I. So this, like I'm getting all the values, my loop is running, it is iterable supported, and it's mutable. Why we call it as mutable object means I can do a like a substitution, like I can change these values. 1 second.
Here,
Like
when you gave value as a equal to Sampath, you haven't mentioned that I equal to 0. You didn't initialize, right? And you haven't mentioned I less than 7 or something. With which logic did it print for 7 times? I didn't
see,
understand.
see it like for loop, whichever the I said, like we are not using the static programming language. We are using dynamic programming language. It means like we doesn't care about like all the logics. We care about like few logics. My for loop in Python, it supports the len function. Like it takes the len of a. means, for example, whatever the value is there with A, I'll say that one. My len of A is around 7. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have, like in this one A, 7 values are there. 7 values one by one it will come and store. Like for I in A, so index wise it will come and store one by one. Then it will print this object. So we don't write like n number of lines to print certain things or to execute certain things. We go with a simple syntax and simple coding instructions. So in Python, we can like do in like great jobs. Like I'll explain this one in more clear to you. Okay. So don't worry about this one. We need to see, like I'll show you this one. Just I'm saying a mutable and mutable object difference. Okay.
Okay.
So here I can say that my print B and type of B and ID of B. Again, print I, type of I, comma ID of I. In this one, this particular list will store in one memory address. Internally, for each from that memory, each and every element, we can call it as element of this list. Each and every element is stored in another reference address. You can see, I can call this group of collection of things as my list, or else we can call it as a vector, or I can call it as a data structure. Okay, a group of elements in particular list which are in square brackets. Inside the square brackets and assigned to particular variable, I call it as a list. And inside that list, I have again elements like in normal integers. So these are my integers. So if I say like B of 0, this one object is stored in the 0 of B, okay, index. So I can alter that one and assign another value 30. I can cross check again, print B, the value got updated. And same thing again. So before I have an address 97904. Now I have assigned the 30 in new object. It got updated. So this is mutable object. So we can alter the object. We can reassign some another value. We can delete that one. Okay. I'll show with more clarity about this one. Just a second. So in integer, float, complex, bool, string is the fundamental data types. Up to here, like these are fundamental data types, means basic data types. I'll come back to the previous slide after showing this one immutable and mutable example. So immutable objects are the objects which does not allow to modify the content of the objects are known as immutable, as I mentioned. Before creating immutable object with some content, Python interpreter verifies is already any object is available in a memory location with the same content or not. As we saw, like if I'm creating the object A, like I created like A equal to 10 and B equal to 10. When I create A equal to 10, my memory object will create the value in for A some 1, 2, 3 value. So my interpreter is cross-checking, verifies is already any object is available in the memory location with the same content or not. So if it is already created, then it will take this one reference address to assign to B. Okay. If object is not available, then Python interpreter creates a new object with the content. If I say C equal to 20, this is new content. It is not created before. So it will create a new object for this particular content. So that is my 20 value, which we discussed, right? And if already it is available in the memory location with the same content without creating the object, the existing object address will be given to the reference variable for this one reference variable, which we given in the process. So this is immutable object. Okay. And see, this is one example which we already discussed. I equal to 1000, j equal to 2000. When I equal to 1000, I created a new object here. J equal to 2000, it's also created new object here. And we are getting the same memory address for the both. Like if I say like 1000 and 2000, different memory address. And if I say 1000 and 1000 for the both the variables, I'm getting the same memory address. So like immutable object, we have another page. Sorry, mutable object. The object which allows to modify the content of those objects are known as the mutable objects. We can modify that one. We can create two different mutable objects with the same content. Before, we are able to create with the same content only one. What we are able to create one memory address. Now, if I say a equal to 10, 20 and 30 values, and b equal to same values, same content, 10, 20 and 30. Okay, so it will create in the new address book. Here a equal to 10, 20, 30. Created the object, print a, type of a, and ID of a. So like this is list, okay, and this is my reference address, and I'm creating with the same values again. For the B object, you can see we have the same content, but it is not using the previous reference address. It is creating a new reference address because this is mutable object. Mutable object doesn't care about what is like, is it any existing reference address is there for the same content. It will directly create the new object and it will waste the memory. Like you can see this one. For this one and this one, even though content is same, it will create the new memory address for the both. Is it clear, Teju? Like immutable object, it will verifies whether the same content is present or not. Mutable object, even though if the same content we are assigning to the different variables, it will not cross verify whether that content is existing with our reference address in our memory or not.
Means
So it will create the new object.
If the data type is like vector, means it's a combination of values, right? 10, 20, 30. For these kind of objects, these are called mutable objects.
Yeah, in that one also only specific to things, like I'll show you that one. So how many data types you can call a mutable objects, how many data types are called immutable objects. Okay. I'll come back to the same previous slide. Okay.
Means based on the data type, right? Int is an immutable object. And list is a mutable object.
Yes, yes. So we have around, these are my data types, around 9 data types, which are important, which we discuss. We have few more data types, but we will discuss on these 9 topics first. Okay. I'll say this one, this one, this one are immutable objects. Again, tuple is my immutable object, and tuple object elements may be mutable. Why? We will discuss about that one in our upcoming session. May be mutable because in tuple I can assign list. In the list elements I can modify, but tuple objects I cannot modify. Okay. So sets is mutable, list is mutable. Dictionary, we have a key and value pair. So where key is immutable object, we cannot modify. Value is mutable object where you can modify. For this one, we have an example like whenever we are creating certain pages, web pages, like username, and we'll give a checkbox, name will be changed. Like this is my key, which we cannot change in my web page every time. If it is a registration form for the student, and if I say like father name, this will become my key, and this will become my value. So this one will be an immutable object, and this one will be the mutable object. And phone number, this is my immutable object, and this one is mutable object. So whenever you are doing a registration for the students from the database, we want to store this one mutable objects to the database, but this one will be the unique. It will not change. The key will be same for all the students. You got this one, right, Teju?
Yeah.
So we'll discuss like more clearly about the each and every data type. Okay. So I'm just giving a rough introduction about this one, data types, and as I mentioned, these are fundamental data types, and these are like collection data types, like group of things we bring together. Like we'll use a different formats. Like for list, we use a open and close brackets. For tuples, we use open and close parentheses. For set and dictionary, we use a curly braces. I'll show you one by one. Okay.
Here set doesn't allow duplicate values, right?
Yes, sets doesn't allow the duplicate values. You are correct. And I'll explain one by one. So we'll start with the integer first, okay? So like integer, like it's a number, okay? I can assign a value to a particular variable. A equal to 100 is my integer. I can print that one. I can ask like a type of it. I can do a mathematical calculation, arithmetical calculations, whatever we can do, addition, subtraction, multiplication, everything we can do with the integers. I can do the same kind of operations with the float also. And like you can see this one.
Yeah.
Format of float is 12 dot, some decimal value will be there. After that one, which continues, that is, we call it as a float. When I say complex data type, this has some real and imaginary value. You are from BTech background, Teju?
Yeah, BTech.
So generally, like you know about the imaginary values.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one 3 plus 4j is the 4j is the imaginary value, which the format will be in this one. 3 plus 4j or 5 plus 6j or something you can give it. Okay. That value we call it as a complex value.
Okay.
And when it comes to this one, bool, this is my boolean operations true or false. We have two conditions, either true or false. In my string, like I need to either when I'm assigning a string to a particular variable, when I'm creating an object for this e variable, this Surya need to be in single quotes or double quotes. So I'll explain about that one. About strings more, we'll discuss more on that one. We'll take 1 or 2 days time for, especially for strings. Okay. So like before that one, we'll go with the integers, floats, and little bit of Boolean and complex numbers. So as you see in my screen, if I want to assign multiple values to multiple variables, like this one, like a equal to 10, I'm assigning a single variable, a single value. Okay, I can print back. A name, I can assign a single name string to a single variable. Age, I'm assigning a single variable. But can I assign a single value, like 1, to multiple values? Yes, I can assign. At a time, multiple values can I assign to multiple variables? Yes, I can. So it's a simple format in Python. We'll go in this way, like a equal to 10, b equal to some string I'm taking, Surya, and we'll go one by one. So as like it's my integer, right? It's my float. We'll go with float.
P is string, right?
Yeah, I'll come up. I'll change that one. Okay. 12.34 is my float value. And we have complex
Sir,
c equal
instead
to
of adding the plus, instead of clicking the plus button there, is there any shortcut to add the next line? Like,
no, as of now, no. Like the next line, we need to see. Maybe some buttons will be there for new cell. Actually, we used to get all the shortcut keys here. Now they are not giving in this one.
no, how come you are going to the
Cell
next
driver.
line without printing? You gave a equal to 10 in one line, and how did you shift to the next line without printing a?
Yeah, without printing, yeah, it just continue in the same cell.
No, no.
I did not went to the new cell.
You
Like,
gave a equal to 10 in one line.
okay, 1 second, 1 second. So you mean to say a equal to 10.
Yeah.
So I can enter like shift enter. When I press shift enter, automatically
Yeah,
it will
this
create the new
is
line.
what I'm asking.
Execute
Shift
the
enter.
previous one and it will, yeah, yes.
Okay.
So complex is that one, like 6 plus like 4j. And we have what is there? And boolean, like bool value, like I can call it boolean or bool value. It's like d equal to true, or I can give d like e equal to false. We have both the things, like either I can give true or false. Okay, and we have string format. So this is my string. So I'm cross checking with my interpreter. Type ID and memory address. So I'm just changing the same thing. I'm changing the letters. You can see like a equal to 10. This is my integer. Again, I'm cross checking with my interpreter, and b equal to, this is my float. Okay. We are cross checking with this fundamental data types. We are going with this fundamental data types. Okay. And b equal to 12.34, and complex, this is my real and imaginary value, and in the C, and D equal to true, and also we can use E equal to false, like both are Boolean values, and string, Surya, or any string you can add. Okay. When I execute this one, you can see 10 values 10 class integer. Okay, for this one, and memory address is this one. And for the float, it is saying the value is 12.34 which we given, and the class is float. You can see for the complex data type, the value is this which we are assigned to particular C, and this is complex data type, and the memory address is this one, reference variable. And you can see the D equal to true, this is a Boolean, bool value, so true. Okay. And false we did not given for this one. E. So false is also bool type, and we have a memory address for this one. Surya is a string. Surya I can assign in single quotes or a double quotes. This is the format to follow for the fundamental data types. For this funda file, like integer, float, complex, bool, string. So you want to enter, you can just make a note, or else you will get the recorded session. So you can also revise the class once again, and you can type the same thing.
I'll copy in notes from the recorded session. You can continue.
Okay. So shall I continue?
Yeah, you can continue.
So in this one, like we are going and cross-checking the multi-assignment. So this is the single way, like when we are assigning the values. Now, instead of single assignment, I want to do it at a time. Like I want to assign all the values at a time. A equal to like I can go in this way: A, comma B, comma C, comma D, comma E, comma F, comma, or I can take new values like G, H, I, J, K, L, M. So I'm taking around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. I'm assigning 1, 10, and 23.45, and what we have, complex, right? I'll say 3 plus 9J, comma, bool value I'm assigning first true, and false. For this one, I'm not taking a single quotes or double quotes. It is still default. We need to write the true or false. Only we have the bool, the true or false, a 0 or 1.
Oh.
Okay. And again, I'm taking it some in the string. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like I have around 7 here. I'll remove 1 from here. So I assign all the values. I can cross check now. Multi assignment is done. Just replacing the letters. So we are just cross-checking whether my interpreter is working properly or not. It is taking all the multi-assignment at a time or not. You can see whatever I assigned, everything we are able to see back. The class of the data type, integer, float, complex, bool, and we have different memory address. So I can assign for multiple variables, multiple values I can assign at a time. Is it clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah. So we'll go for the next one. So in the same way, I can swap the variables also. Like you can see this one example, x has 10 and y equal to 20. To write this code in another language, you need to take the temporary variable and you need to assign that value to that one and you need to change that one. In our Python interpreter, we can do the task in simple way. Like I have like x equal to 10, y equal to 20. So when I say that x equal to 10 and y equal to 20, I can see that values print x equal to 10 and print y equal to 20. I'll get the values. If I want to swap this one, x comma y equal to y comma x. So when I say this one, x comma y equal to y comma x, I'm assigning the y value into x, and in y I'm assigning x value with a single line code. So I'm not using more brain. I'm not going in like different ways like what we used to do for another static programming languages. So now if I cross check print x, and like you can see, now my value of x is 20 and value of y is 10. So is it Python is simple, right? We can do in a like one line code. So we done with this one. Python swap the values in a single line, and this applies to all the objects in the Python. Whatever the objects, whatever the data types, you can do that operation. We know about this one ID function. Every instance of object or variable has an identity, like this one, memory address.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so lines and indentation is very important in Python. For example, why we say lines and indentation is very important. Whichever the blocks you are starting and closing that blocks, it starts like whenever you increase the indentation space, and it will reduce whenever, like it will close that block whenever you like reduce the space. I'll show you that one. Say lines and indentation space. I'll do one thing. I'll share this Jupyter notebook also in WhatsApp. You can also cross check. Okay, I'll try to write some notes here. I'll show you how to use the shared Jupyter notebooks.
Okay.
Okay. So like if I want to write if condition, for example, if I'm taking a bool statement true. So in my Jupyter notebook, automatically it is maintaining the indentation space. If my Jupyter notebook is not giving indentation space, like where to start the block, I need to give 4 times. I need to enter the space button. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is my block starts. this indentation space, whatever we are giving for space or tab space, it will say that if condition block got started. I say that print it's true. Or when I reduce the again indentation space from this block, particular block, it is closing the if condition and I'm opening the new else condition here. Print false. So you can see when I say if true, it will be always true. That's why it is going into this particular block and it is printing. If I don't maintain this indentation space, without indentation space, if I am giving this condition, it will say that indentation error is there, expected an indentation block. So then that's why we need to maintain for each and every, whenever we are starting a new block, we need to maintain this indentation space. So that means we are starting a new block for the if condition. So under this if condition, whatever the instructions we are writing, that conditions, like if this condition true, it will perform this particular block. If this condition goes wrong, then it will perform the below block. So this is like importance about the indentation space, and we'll discuss more on this one in the indentation space. Like
Okay, instead of this curly braces, we are using space, right?
yes, in another languages we use curly braces,
Yeah.
right, to open a block and close a block. But in Python, we use indentation space. We use space, like four space, spaces we use for one single tab. For example, inside this one if condition, I'm writing one more if condition. If A is greater than B, again here I need to use indentation space to start inside if condition. Print A is greater than B. Okay, so there are like whenever you open an indentation space, that means it will start a new block for that particular condition. When we are writing the for loop, if loop, or functions, methods, that time we use more indentation space to start that particular block. We'll discuss on this one, Teju. Don't worry about this one. We'll discuss on more on this topic. Okay. I hope you're already aware of languages, right? Programming languages. We are using curly braces to start a block. Here
Yes.
we are using the indentation space instead of curly braces, and we reduce that particular space. This one, that block ends. If I am not reducing that one, the block is continuing.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll stop the session here. Already it's 9:10. We'll again start on Monday on the same time.
Okay, Sampath. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Teju. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I'll wait for some more time.
Nothing, Sampath. Nothing for now. It's clear.
Like as we are starting the batch, it's a fresh batch, right? Like that's why I'm going a little bit slow, and like I'm taking only 1 hour session, because you need to adjust with my way of teaching and what we are trying to explain. Like, so later, once you are addicted to my way of teaching and the practice what we are making in Jupyter Notebook, then I can increase the speed, and we can increase the time slot also. Like instead of 1 hour, we'll go 1.5 hours, 2 hours to complete the portion.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Teju. Yeah. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.